Evergreens have been used as festive decorations for centuries. It's hard to imagine celebrating Christmas without them. Today, I'm collecting some greenery from the grounds at Audley End so that I can make Christmas decorations to put up around the house and gardens. Traditionally, when the Braybrookes lived here, evergreens would have been used for Christmas decorations, and we still use evergreens to create decorations for the house and gardens. There's a range of foliage to choose from, including things like holly, box, ivy, and several types of conifer. But within the house, we need to be mindful of the conservation of the collection. So consider things like the moisture and then the insects that could be taken into the house. People have been using foliage as festive decorations since the Middle Ages. Evergreens for Christians symbolise eternal life. So bringing greenery into the house promises that return to life in the spring. So a wreath is a circular arrangement of foliage. Obviously for Christmas wreaths, it tends to be evergreens. Wreaths were used in Roman times to mark military success or excellence. They're also recorded as being used to crown winners at Olympic Games. Wreaths were first hung on front doors in the 19th century, and they were also known as welcome rings. They tended to be made up of holly, ivy, and also cones and homemade decorations. So kissing bough, they date from the Tudor period, and at that time they were made of evergreens. By the Georgian period, they become more elaborate, so they included things like fruit, and ribbons, and homemade decorations. Kissing boughs tended to include berries in the Georgian period, so a gentleman could pluck a berry from the kissing bough and ask a lady for a kiss on the cheek. And once all the berries were gone, then there were no more kisses to be had. And this might be where the tradition of kissing under the mistletoe comes from. So mistletoe is an evergreen plant. It tends to be on apple trees, poplars or limes. And if you look up into trees, what you'll see is a very big ball of green. It's parasitic, so it's feeding off its host tree. The berries are spread by birds. Although it's feeding off the tree, it won't kill the tree, but it will weaken it. Every year we have a real tree here at Audley End in the Great Hall. The first Christmas tree was introduced in 1800 by Queen Charlotte, the German wife of George III, but they're most commonly associated with Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's consort. So in the Victorian period, Christmas trees would have been decorated with candles, fruit, homemade decorations and small gifts. The Christmas tree that we'd use here is likely to be a spruce or a fir. It's very large because obviously the Great Hall has very high ceilings, so probably between 20 and 30 feet. When I'm making my wreaths, I get together all the materials that I need. We have the foliage that we cut from the grounds earlier. There's box and the holly and the redwood foliage. Also offcuts from a Christmas tree, which are really useful. There's a metal wreath base, moss for mossing the base, and also wire that I'm going to use. I've started to add moss to the base, and I've got a long way around the base already. So what I do is take handfuls of the moss and place it on the top, and then wire it onto the base by going through the centre and pulling tightly. So the moss just provides more depth to the wreath, but it also provides a bit of moisture behind the foliage. So I'll now tie off the wire and then we get on to the next stage. Now the base is ready, I'm going to make bunches of foliage, layered foliage, to place onto the base. And use the wire to fix it in place. Continue to use the foliage to build the layers, overlapping each other until you get back to the beginning. And then our wreath's complete. So it should last the whole of the festive season because we've been careful with the foliage that we've chosen. It's all got waxy leaves, and so it will hang on to its moisture. Evergreens have been cut and used for centuries to dress houses for Christmas, and this is a tradition that we carry on at Audley End to dress our house this Christmas.